You guys probably know what I'm talking about, the giving tree. There was this boy who would climb the tree and make a swing on the tree and carve his initials into the tree when he had found a love. And then later he said, hey, I need wood to build my house. And eventually he chopped this tree down, and the tree was so grateful to give everything that it possibly could that it was no longer, it was nothing. It was a stump in the ground. And that little boy who grew into a man took advantage of the tree, his friend, and the tree let him do it. Are you a people pleaser? Man, this is a hard one to figure out at times. Our goal in life, as I've told you for the past 10 years, is to protect, provide, and preside. To serve people, to protect people, to be valuable in their lives. And what I'm realizing is that there is a cost. There is an extreme. There's a place where you might get where you are so vested in serving other people, helping other people, leading other people, taking care of other people, that you might run into one of the most dangerous traps that I think we as men can fall into, and that is becoming a people pleaser. Now, I'm going to be very straightforward with you on this one. I'm sharing this with you today because I've spent a lot of time, specifically over the past week, thinking about in what ways am I a people pleaser? And I've come to the conclusion, that I am a people pleaser. And it's weird. It's weird because we tell ourselves that we're supposed to be strong and bold and independent and sovereign. I mean, I literally wrote a book on sovereignty, which is the control over your feelings and emotions and physical environment and how you show up in the world. And I stand by what I wrote, but I also see why I wrote that. It was a message to myself. And I've had experiences recently, and I've had experiences throughout my entire life where I've realized maybe the problem is not those external factors. Maybe it's not the experiences that I've had or the people that I've been in relationships with, but it's myself, and realizing that I'm not real comfortable unless I'm making other people happy. And the problem with that is that, number one, you can't do it. It's just not possible for you to make people happy all the time. And the other problem is that you lose yourself in doing that, and you let go of yourself, and you neglect yourself, and you don't take care of yourself, and you end up frustrated and anxious, and maybe even have some resentment towards experiences or people in your life. And the third part of this, in no particular order, is that we do things to sabotage ourselves, maybe even subconsciously, where we might tell a lie to somebody, not with malicious intent, but to save them from their feelings, as if that's our place to do. Or we manipulate a situation or a scenario so that we try to get the best of every possible outcome that we can, or spare people from the consequences of their own choices. And I understand why we do it. I'm intimately familiar with this. The things I'm sharing with you today is just things that I've come across over the past week and looking into this a little bit and figuring out more about myself. But it is selfish. It's selfish to assume that we can just make everybody else happy all the time. And part of the reason that it's selfish is, well, it's hard to quantify, because we say to ourselves, well, I'm just trying to serve other people. I'm just trying to lead. I'm just trying to help other people. I'm trying to help people navigate their emotions, or I'm trying to help people overcome this thing or save them from the consequences of their bad choices. And we tell ourselves as people pleasers that I'm doing this for noble intentions. And we actually believe that. We do believe that. And maybe we are to a degree. But it's also selfish, because I think more often than not, what we do when we are trying to rescue people from their own problems is not so much a concern of what they're dealing with, but a concern of how we might have to confront our own shortcomings and inadequacies and how we feel about it. Like, I don't feel good when my kids have to struggle. But can I honestly say that my intentions are to keep them out of struggle, or is it to keep myself feeling comfortable? And I've had to confront this a lot. So today I'm going to talk with you about 5 signs that you can help or that will identify whether or not you may be a people pleaser. And as I went through this and I did some research, there's a couple of books I want to give credit to. Number one is No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. That is required reading. I actually started listening to it again. I've probably read it half a dozen times. It's a great book. And as I listened to it this time, even just within the first couple of chapters, I found myself nodding my head. Yep, that's me. Yes, I do that. Yes, those are the consequences. Yes, it's pretty wild. No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. The other one is a book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins is not somebody I normally resonate with, but I was recommended the book, and based on my own personal struggles, I thought, well, is there a way for me to figure out, and I was doing some research on how to just let other people live their lives and be who they're going to be and say what they're going to say and do what they're going to do and absolve myself of the responsibility of managing that. And I came across this book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. And it's really, really powerful. Again, not somebody I would normally resonate with, but it's a very good book, and I would highly suggest that one as well. So let's jump into these 5 signs, and then I'm also going to give you some things that I'm learning. Again, I'm not telling you what you should do because I have all the answers. I'm telling you what I'm going to do, what I am working on personally. And if it helps you, great. I hope it does. So number 1, 5 signs that you're a people pleaser. Number 1, saying yes when you should say no. I had a really interesting text conversation with a friend of mine. And he said, hey, Ryan, I want you to listen to this podcast. It's really good. It's on the state of affairs in Canada. And I think it would be good because you've had this person on the podcast and it would be valuable for you to listen to. And he told me why he wanted to share it with me. Normally, I would say yes. I'd say, yeah, sure, send it over. And what I would also do is I would say, I'll listen to it. And honestly, I cannot tell you how many times people have said, let me send you this podcast or this book or this thing or this resource or whatever. And I'll tell them, yes, I'll listen to it with no intention of listening to it. But I've made a commitment specifically over the past week to say, you know what, I'm going to be brutally honest. And if people are upset about it or they're bothered by it or whatever, that is not my problem. Now I'm going to do it with tact. I'm not going to be a jerk, but I'm going to be honest. And so this gentleman, a friend of mine, he sent me this message and he said, hey, will you listen to this podcast? And because I'm focused on this, I said, no, I normally I would say yes to that, and then I would never listen to it. But I'm going to tell you, no, don't send it to me because I won't listen to it. It's not that I don't value your opinion. It's just that I'm trying to be honest in every single aspect of my life. So thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for that being important to you. But no, I will not listen to that. And that was really, really hard. For guys who are not people pleasers, you might say, what's the big deal? But for guys who are people pleasers, you're like crawling in your skin right now. You're thinking to yourself, I could never do that. Well, you just have to force yourself to. Because if you want to break the cycle of people pleasing, then we as people pleasers need to do things that are not comfortable for us. And so I told him, hey, I appreciate you thinking of me. Not going to listen to that podcast probably. So please don't send it to me. And he was very gracious. He's like, hey, you know what? I respect that. No hard feelings. We jump to these conclusions about, oh, people will hate us and they'll think less of us. And very rarely I think that will happen if we do it with tact. So when are you saying yes when you should say no? And what I would suggest in these moments is when you're tempted to say no, that's probably a reason to say no. As a people pleaser, what I would suggest is you don't need to respond immediately. That's what I found myself doing. When people would ask if I could help them move or if I could do this thing or do that thing or help them with this charitable organization or help on one of my kids' sports teams, I would immediately think, I need to answer this person fast. And my knee-jerk reaction was always yes, because I want to be a man of value. But I found that if I can just give myself a little bit of space by simply saying, hey, when do you need to know by? Or let me think about that. Let me look at my calendar and get back with you. The space that we create in those moments is the space that gives us an opportunity to really reflect as to whether or not we should say yes or no. As people pleasers, when we're on the spot, we will always say yes. We just will. We'll say yes. Can you help me move this weekend? Yes. Can you help me coach because I'm not going to be there? Yes. Can you take care of this charitable organization? Yes. Can you come over to my house and take all my packages off the front door and put them on the back? Yes. Can you jump on a phone call with me because I'm concerned or scared or worried and I want to talk with you this afternoon at 3? Yes. It's always immediate. And then when I do it, I have regrets because I have my own things going on in my own life and my own priorities. Number 2, you avoid conflict at all costs. People pleasers like us are afraid of conflict. And so we do some really horrible things. Again, they're not meant to be malicious. Like, I don't set out to hurt people's feelings. I don't set out to enact my revenge against people who I feel slighted by. But we do horrible things. We lie to people. Maybe little white lies, maybe twist the truth or bend the truth, maybe errors of omission, because we don't want to make it confrontational with that person. We don't want to feel uncomfortable or awkward. And so we lie, or we manipulate, or we deceive. Again, not maliciously, but we do that because we want to spare ourselves the hardship of confrontation. And I'm getting into the psychology of all this. I don't know it all. I'm sure it comes from early childhood. I'm not going to use trauma. I think that's dramatic, but early childhood experiences and beliefs and patterns and the way we processed information and the stories that we told ourselves about the experiences that we had when we were younger. But we don't want to do any conflict with anybody. Nope, not interested. Oh, you're upset. No, I'm going to tweak the story, change the story to make you feel better about yourself. To what I think would help people feel better about themselves. And that's not obviously a good way to go. And so what I would say as an anecdote to this is that we need to embrace conflict that's going to inevitably come up. When you say no, people are going to be unhappy. That's okay. I'm realizing that other people's problems or their perception of the problem or the baggage or the lens they're looking at it through, it's not mine to bear. I say I'm learning. I'm figuring this stuff out at 44 years old. It's not mine to bear. Now, I want to be respectful. There's people that I care about. And so I'll consider how I say things in a tactful way. But if I'm lying to people or omitting information or manipulating a story or an experience in order to get them to think a certain way or believe a certain way or behave a certain way, there's no other explanation than you being manipulative towards other people that you love and care about. And it's not that you don't love them, it's that you don't maybe really fully believe that they will love you if they're not happy. Right? If somebody's unhappy, as people pleasers, you might begin to think, well, they're unhappy, they're having a bad day, they're having a hard time, and so we take that as a reflection of ourselves. And if I could just control and manipulate and tweak and coerce so that they're happy or satisfied or at least neutral, then that doesn't say anything bad about myself. And that's where that selfishness comes in. And I would also say, I used to give this advice in the past where I would say, say no to people or tell people what you're doing without explanation. As a people pleaser or a nice guy, a little bit synonymous, I would say that sometimes it's okay to explain because it's really hard to go from saying yes to everybody to saying no most of the time without an explanation. And if you can make that gradual transformation, like this guy I was telling you about who told me about the podcast he wanted me to listen to, I explained myself to him. That was way easier explaining it than just saying no. Now, there might come a point in time where I say, hey, you know what? I appreciate you sending that over, but not really interested in that conversation. But thanks for thinking of me without explanation. But in this case, because I know my natural tendency, I explained it. And I think that's okay because it allows people to give you a little bit of grace. It moves you in the right direction of being honest, and it makes it easier to tell the truth. So embrace that conflict and know that life isn't about being happy and content and satisfied at all times, but it's about being true to yourself following your own directives in your own heart, sure, serving other people, but also making sure you take care of yourself. Number 3, again, these are 5 signs that you're a people pleaser. Number 3, that you feel responsible for other people's feelings. You feel responsible for other people's feelings. I alluded to this a minute ago, where if your son is having a bad day, you feel like it's your job to make him not have a bad day. Or if your wife or significant other might not be happy with a certain scenario or maybe something that you did or didn't do, and they're upset, that it's your responsibility. Or it could have nothing to do with you. It could just be that your significant other had a bad day at work, or they got into a little bit of road rage, or they had an issue with one of their family members, or one of their friends from high school committed suicide. I mean, we have no idea. We have zero idea of what's going on in their lives unless we ask. But what people pleasers like myself will do is we'll automatically make whatever people are experiencing in their own lives about us. So your wife is having a bad day and she's upset, and instead of being pleasant and having a conversation with you at dinner and then maybe trying to be intimate, she's distant and she's not interested in being intimate. And then what we say, because I've done this, is what we say is, well, she just doesn't love me. She just doesn't care. She doesn't care about me. She must be cheating or seeing somebody else, or she's lying to me. She's not telling me the truth. It sounds crazy to people who aren't people pleasers, but I'm telling you, so many of you guys listening to this have had these thoughts. I have had these thoughts. One of your kids is having a bad day and they won't talk with you. My daughter was being a little weird this morning, and I was like, what's wrong? What, are you okay? Because she's being a little sassy this morning, and she said, I'm just tired. And instead of saying, okay, well, you can be tired. Doesn't give you an excuse to be rude to everybody, but you can certainly be tired. I was like, well, she's mad. Something's wrong. There's something off. I'm like, no, maybe she's actually just tired. That legitimately could be it. Or your boss is agitated at work, and he comes a little hard at you about something. And you're like, what the hell is this guy's problem? Oh no, he doesn't believe in me anymore. I've lost his trust. Oh shit, am I getting fired? Is he going to take me off his project? Again, it sounds crazy to people who don't think this way, but I'm telling you, there are millions and millions of men who do. And they naturally jump to the worst case conclusion. And what it might be is that your boss just got news from his wife over the lunch break that their son just broke their arm at school, or that a family member was diagnosed with a form of cancer that's terminal. You have no idea what it is, but we take it on ourselves because we tell ourselves, oh, it must be something wrong with me. They're having a bad day because of me, but I don't know if that's true. Why would I jump to it? It could be literally 1,000 other things, an infinite number of things. And yet we're so arrogant and so self-absorbed that we think that has to do with me. She's mad at me. No, she's mad at her sister. No, my son's mad at me. No, he had a bad practice at lacrosse today. Oh, my boss, yeah, he hates me. No, he hates everybody else. He just took it out on you. It could be any explanation. And so what I would say, as far as an anecdote to this, is just allowing people to be what they want to be. If your daughter's mad or she's tired or whatever, fine. Now, there's boundaries. I'll talk about that in a minute. You can be tired, but you can't treat other people like garbage. But if you're tired, that's fine. Go back to bed or go in your room. But that's your responsibility. It's not mine. If your boss is being a jerk and that's out of character, it's probably not about you. Are you doing the right things? Yes. Okay, then it's not about you, even if you feel like it is. Just let people be what they're going to be. Let them experience what they're going to experience. Allow them to feel what they're going to feel. Embrace that. If somebody tells you I'm going to act this way or do this thing and it's at odds with what you want, I mean, what are you going to do? Control other people, manipulate them, coerce them, lie to them, badger them? You're only going to make things worse. I only know because I've done it a million times. Just leave it alone. Leave the door open. You know, if your wife's mad about something and she's being short with you and you say, hey, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, everything's fine. Say, okay. If you need to vent or if you need to explain anything to me or share anything with me, I'm here for you. And then never bring it up again. Because that's hers to work through, not yours. We are notorious white knights. And I would say with that anecdote, allowing people to be what they want to be, do what they want to do, say what they want to say, is read that book, Let Them by Mel Robbins. Number 4, 5 signs you're a people pleaser. Number 4 is you struggle with self-worth unless you're being praised or acknowledged. So you did this amazing thing at work, but your boss didn't notice it. And so you think, well, I'm just a pile of crap. Or I'm not worth anything. Or I'm not important to this company. Or I'm not pulling my weight. And then you have a bad day just because you didn't get praised. I have this happen all the time in our organization where, you know, a man will do something great and wonderful, and then I'll neglect to praise that individual publicly, not on purpose, just because I'm busy and it gets overlooked. And you know, they blow a gasket. It's like, well, I should be acknowledged for that. Really? Should you? Who says you should be acknowledged? Is that why you did it? But we as people pleasers do that. Well, that person didn't respond the way I thought they would. I said this thing or I did this thing and I showed up this way and I was wonderful and great and they didn't give me what I wanted. They didn't tell me how wonderful I was. They didn't pat me on the back. They didn't give me the attaboy. They didn't give me, your significant other didn't give you sex. Your kids didn't like bow down and worship at your feet. I crave this stuff. A lot of you guys have read the book or listened to it, The 5 Love Languages, and words of affirmation are very important to me. It's not bad, but if it comes at the expense of my own sanity and well-being because people aren't behaving the way I think they should, then that is a problem. I need to give people the opportunity to express themselves, how they're going to express themselves, and also tie up my self-worth in the work that I'm doing, purely for the sake of the work that I'm doing. Do I do this podcast because people will praise me? I don't. I do this podcast because I know it will serve other men, and it serves me too. I'm talking about myself today. This is just as much of service to me as it is to anybody else. And whether or not people praised me, I don't really care. I mean, it feels good to be praised or acknowledged, or people tell me, hey, I listened to that podcast and it helped me this way. Of course, that's icing on the cake. I'll take that and I'll accept that. I'll embrace that sense of gratitude from other people, but I don't do it for the praise. But there are other things that I do in life for praise. You know, I might give a gift, for example, because I want something in return. Maybe it's physical intimacy, or maybe it's public acknowledgement that I gave this person this gift. I might give that gift. I might compliment somebody, not just because I'm complimenting them about the way they show up or the way they look or the things they do, but because I want them to compliment me in return, right? Like, okay, I compliment you, you say thank you, and then you compliment me. Well, that's not a great motive for giving people compliments. We should be able to validate ourselves, to be able to find worth in intrinsic worth in who we are. And if you can't find that, then that's a separate conversation. But what I might say is that there's a few things missing. There's no purpose, or no vision, or there's no action towards that vision, or there's a discrepancy. So if you can't find worth in who you are intrinsically without the need for your wife to praise you, your boss to give you a promotion, your friends to tell you how wonderful they are, then maybe there's a discrepancy in what you're doing and how you're showing up. And so the answer is spend some time thinking about two things: where you're good and acknowledge, hey, I'm pretty good at this. And that's something to be proud of. Are you proud of yourself? Sometimes I am, certain things. But am I proud of myself as an individual? If I'm being honest with that answer, because that is my goal this quarter, is to be completely honest, I'm not totally proud of myself. Because I know my shortcomings, and I know my past mistakes, and I know the struggles that I've had. Now, I'm working on shoring those up, but I fall short every day. And when I fall short, I put it on my shoulders and I make it more heavy than maybe it ought to be, that I did the best I could, that I tried, that I had good intentions, but I very rarely show myself any level of grace as being just a human being, where we mess up and fall short and struggle and toil, and it's hard. But there are things that you've done that are wonderful. But we don't think about those things. We think about all the things that we did that were horrible. All the mistakes, all the words, all the actions, all the things that we did or didn't do that we could have done better. And that's okay to reflect, but when we latch onto it and make it our identity, it becomes a problem very, very quick. Spend some time reflecting on what you've done well over your life and how you can duplicate it. And then also spend time thinking about where you can do better. You know, you lost your job and you're distraught and you're heartbroken and you're devastated and you're worried, of course, and you're concerned. But sometimes we never get to the point of thinking, well, what could I have done better? And then doing it. Or you're in a relationship and it falls apart as a result of you and your efforts or lack thereof, and also her response and efforts. You know, we got to put that, you got to be truthful about that as well. And then we tie up our identity in it and we say to ourselves, well, I'm going to take it all on, even the things that don't belong to me. And I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I will never get this right. I will never find love again. We can reflect on what we need to do. Okay, what were the lessons learned? You need to be more honest. You need to communicate better. You need to set boundaries more effectively. You need to uphold those boundaries more effectively. There's all sorts of lessons that you can learn. And when we learn these things and apply them, the sense of self-worth is developed. The last point here, guys, and this one I definitely feel, is that we feel burned out, resentful, and unseen. Burned out, resentful, and unseen. You're tired. You're exhausted. You're mad. You're agitated about everything else and everybody else, and woe is me, and everybody else is the problem, and the world is out to get me, and I'll never get ahead, and like this is the resentment that builds up. And then unseen is that nobody cares about me. Nobody values me. Nobody loves me. Everybody leaves. That's one I've heard. That's one I felt. Everybody leaves. Just a matter of time. That's a sign that you're a people pleaser, because those things aren't necessarily true. You don't need to be burned. If you're burned out, it's because you're not getting what you need out of life. You're putting your own well-being on the altar, on the chopping block, sacrificing it to everybody else. You will bend over backwards. You will do everything that you possibly can. You will serve them. You will sacrifice. And then something happens that you're not comfortable with, and you just think, see, I gave everything to other people and I didn't get what I needed in return. And it's exhausting because you're putting too much weight on the way other people show up. And you're not taking care of yourself. Let me serve this person. Let me take care of this client. Let me serve my boss. Let me do this for my wife. Let me help my kids with this. It's noble. And that's part of the reason that we do it, because it is noble. But it's also detrimental. You're resentful. You say things like, oh, people always leave, or why is that person an asshole? I've done everything that I possibly can, and why are they acting that way? Or why doesn't my boss acknowledge me? You know, I've bent over backwards for this company. I've been here for 20 years. I've invested fully. I've poured in fully. He doesn't acknowledge me. He doesn't appreciate. He doesn't recognize. And now I just think he's a dick. Or, hey, I've done so much for this company and organization and nobody appreciates it. Nobody sees the work that I've done. Nobody acknowledges how I've contributed to the company or the relationship or the business or fill in the blank. As if that's the reason you're doing it. Now, it's nice, of course. It's nice when people say, hey, Ryan, I recognize what you bring to the table. And I just wanted to tell you I appreciate it. Let that be a lesson. When people bring something to the table, acknowledge them. That's a separate conversation. The conversation is now, is that the fuel you need? Is that the fuel that I need? For a woman in my life to say, hey, Ryan, you're awesome. Because that's fleeting. That's going to come and go. Or my boss to say, hey, Ryan, you knocked it out of the park. That's fleeting. That's going to come and go. Or for me to earn the award or get the public acknowledgement, or that stuff's fleeting. What I found is more powerful is saying, hey, you know what? I'm good because I know I did a job well done. I don't need somebody to say, hey, Ryan, good job, because I know I did a good job. Now, if they say good job, I'm going to say thank you. I'm not going to say I know or blow it off because I'm going to be respectful. But if somebody says, hey, Ryan, you know what? Man, you knocked it out of the park on that project. I'm going to say thank you very much. That means a lot to me, especially coming from you, because I really respect and admire you. But inside, I don't need it. I'm good. I got it. I know I did good. But I'm not going to express that because I don't want to be arrogant either. So the anecdote of this, guys, and how to fix this is, number one, stop giving everything. Because if you give everything, then you have nothing left to give. What's the story when we were kids that we read? Is it The Giving Tree? You guys probably know what I'm talking about, The Giving Tree. There was this boy who would climb the tree and make a swing on the tree and carve his initials into the tree when he had found a love. And then later he said, hey, I need wood to build my house. And eventually he chopped this tree down, and the tree was so grateful to give everything that it possibly could that it was no longer, it was nothing. It was a stump in the ground. And that little boy who grew into a man took advantage of the tree, his friend. And the tree let him do it. And now that tree cannot serve anybody else. That's you. You're the tree. I'm the tree. We let everybody else have everything they need, but we don't take care of ourselves. The better we take care of ourselves, not only can I serve that little boy or that woman or that business partner, I can do it indefinitely forever. Help yourself. Set boundaries. Know what you want. If people come to take advantage of you, maliciously or otherwise, and it doesn't align with what you want, set the boundary. No, I'm not going to do that. Or if you need something out of a professional or platonic or personal relationship, you say, here's what I need. And if that person can't or is unwilling to provide that for you, do we have the moral fortitude to say, then I'm not going to be in this relationship? If I'm not being selfish, I want to give you what you need, but if you can't give me what I need, then I can no longer be in this relationship. People pleasers have a really hard time doing that because it's the relationship, again, personal, professional, or platonic, that determines our worth. So if I don't have friends, then I'm a loser. If I bounce from job to job, then I'm a slacker. If I can't maintain a relationship, then I am pathetic. No, it might not be that. It might just mean that you need to set boundaries and know what you're after and find people, professional, personal, and platonic, who are in alignment with what you want out of life. And they're out there. Of course they're out there. Billions and billions of people on the planet. They're out there. Trust me. The more we start setting those expectations and communicating those expectations and then upholding them, the more likely it is we're going to find the professional, personal, and platonic relationships that we want. So I hope this helps. It helps me. I've been thinking a lot about this, particularly over the last week. And again, it's 5 signs you're a people pleaser. Number 1, you say yes when you should say no. Number 2, you avoid conflict at all costs. Number 3, you feel responsible for other people's feelings. Number 4, you struggle with self-worth unless praised or acknowledged. And number 5, you're burned out, resentful, and or feel unseen. And I gave you the anecdotes for all of those. Try it. Try it out. That's what I'm doing. The biggest thing I'm doing right now for the next 90 days and probably longer, hopefully longer, is that I'm going to be ruthlessly honest. I'm not going to be a dick. I'm going to be tactful, but I'm going to be very honest. If I don't want to do something, I'm going to say I don't want to do it. If I can't do it, I'm going to say I can't do it. If people are struggling, I'm going to serve them to the best of my ability, but not give more than I can give. I'm not going to take their emotions on as my own. I'm going to let people work through their problems. I'm going to set boundaries. And I'm going to learn to not become a people pleaser. There's tremendous benefit in this. We didn't talk a lot about the benefits today. We just talked about the challenges and what you should do. Maybe in a future podcast, I'll talk about the benefits of becoming a non-people pleaser because I think that will give us some more insight into why doing this is so crucial and so valuable. But check out No More Mr. Nice Guy. He's been on the podcast before. Also check out Mel Robbins, the book Let Them. I think those are 2 resources that will really help you. All right, guys. Like I said, I hope that helps. I hope that serves you. We will be back on Tuesday for an interview. But until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.